Welcome back to Mighty Race Later, where we're here for a good time, not a long time. So let's get into it. Blake Lively's case just got gutted, kind of like her recent casting calls.
Judge Lehman took a chainsaw to those claims, 10 out and 3 years still standing.
And in case you haven't read all 152 pages of this decision, Carrie and I are going to break it down for you. Her 13 claims were basically in 4 categories: sexual harassment, which all 4 were dismissed; retaliation, 2 survived, 2 didn't; contract dispute, split, 1 of each; and torts, all 3 claims were dismissed.
And these claims were against Wayfair Studios, the owners who are Justin Baldoni and Steve Sarowitz, and Wayfair CEO Jamie Heath, also against an LLC formed for the movie It Ends With Us Movie LLC, also against the agency group PR, which we're going to call TAG here, and Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, who were publicists working for Wayfair.
And sexual harassment laws can protect independent contractors. But as we've discussed before, the power imbalance has always been a sticking point for us. And the judge granted Justin and team summary judgment on all counts, specifically saying Blake also receives substantial equity in the project. In her words, she owned a huge piece of the movie.
The judge also noted that Blake sued under California law, arguing that the decisions made there allowed her to be harassed. And California basically said, hey, we're flattered that you thought of us, girl, but this mess is pure Jersey.
The contract disputes were split because one contract was signed and executed and the other one wasn't. The court said, you can't breach a contract you never signed, sweetie. Now, there is legal precedent if both parties intended that they were going to be bound by the contract, but in this case, both parties had said that they were not going to agree to the draft agreement and that they were still negotiating it.
So now we're left with 3 causes of action. We have first Lively's 4th cause of action for retaliation and violation of California's Fair Employment and Housing Act against the It Ends With Us Movie LLC and Wayfair. Second, Lively's 7th cause of action against TAG for aiding and abetting retaliation in violation of the Fair Employment and Housing Act. Third, Lively's 9th cause of action for breach of the contract writer agreement against the movies LLC. So the breach of contract is for violating the retaliation clause, and Wayfair and the movie LLC are joint employers for retaliation purposes.
Yeah, so retaliation is all we got left. And the biggest claim is in California, which has a slightly different causation standard. Blake has to show that her reporting the sexual harassment was a substantial motivating factor for the smear campaign that came next. Even if Wayfair successfully argues that they would have done it anyway, under California law, that will only help in awarding damages, not in the actual liability. So, now that we have all the facts out of the way, Carrie, thoughts?
Yeah, 2 thoughts. First, I feel like we have a chicken or the egg problem. Was it a hostile work environment because the parties were retaliating against Blake for complaining about Justin? Or was it because she was the hostile one and difficult to work with, and after she came forward, they were like, okay, gloves are off? The other thing is, I don't know what she stands to win, even if she wins. So Hollywood isn't going to want to work with her anymore. And her husband can probably produce something and put her in it and give her vanity projects. But I think she's lost credibility as a serious actress at this point.
100% agree. And, the chicken or the egg, it's so hard because this is absolutely going to be the jury question. And you and I have talked about this for a year now, that this was the question that we had really been looking at, that we found fascinating this whole time, is Did they retaliate against Blake Lively? And they did. Let's be very clear. They absolutely did.
Right.
Some of the emails and the texts between Justin Baldoni and the rest of Wayfair talking to their PR team included, talk to People magazine, talk to TMZ. Here's the information you want to put out there. What I also found out in reading this that I did not know is the video where Blake is rude to that reporter, where she says, "Oh, congrats on your little bump," and Blake's all snarky and was like, "Congrats on yours," and the woman wasn't pregnant. That video was actually dug up by the Wayfair PR team. And yes, it happened. And yes, it shows that Blake has been, kind of rude and hostile for a decade. It was absolutely intentional by this team. So the Baldoni team, the Wayfair team, is allowed to defend themselves. And that's the question, right? Do 12 people that sit in that box say he went too far or not? Now, I keep saying him and Justin, but it is important to note that right now, based on these three claims, Justin and the individuals are not being sued. This is all the movie LLC and Wayfair are being sued, not Justin individually anymore. So obviously they're going to be the face of the defense. So we may still say Justin, but it is important to share that. So I personally would go on the side of this. All of this started because Blake went after them. So, Blake insisted that they promote the movie differently. Blake insisted that they weren't even together at the premiere. All of those things happened a year after any sexual harassment claims, anything that Blake had, any protected activity. Mm-hmm. So the timing isn't, an absolute when you're talking about retaliation, but I do think it puts it in some context.
It's like any other situation where it feels like you didn't get your way during the promotion of the movie, so you went back in time to your burn book and drug up all the things that you would have otherwise have let go had the movie gone your way in promotion and success. And now to save face or whatever you think you're doing, you bring forward these claims. Again, we want to believe women, but the timing is unfortunate.
Right. And like we said a year ago when this started, of the sexual harassment part, not as interesting from a legal standpoint, that is absolutely uncalled for, unacceptable. You have an absolute right to feel safe in your employment. After all of that, though, she sued for the retaliation. And, the social media stuff, yes, Justin and team created a smear campaign. Was it actually retaliation? A jury will decide that. I don't think it was. I think they were defending themselves, but that's why it's a jury question. And, your second thought about what does she gain? I mean, at this point, who knows? At this point, I think she has been on this path that she just can't get off of it.
She has a quest, and she's going to complete the quest. She obviously doesn't need the money. And again, a jury finding in her favor would slightly redeem her, I think. But I think this has been going on too long. It's been a dirty press battle, and I don't see how she recovers from this. I think she was already a B-list, C-list celebrity, and she had hoped that this movie was going to bring her back up to the A-list, and I think she's right back where she started.
And you and I talked about this of during all of this, it's come out, and she's actually said it, that she can't just be an actress. She has to be in control of the wardrobe and the music and the lighting, and her PGA letter of, I did everything. I mean, she talked about how she was editing, she was directing, she was hiring and firing. I mean, she is just this one-woman show. Even if she's the perfect actress, I would never hire her. She's not going to come in and take over my movie.
Jenn has a very specific idea of a Hallmark movie, and Chad Michael Murray is going to show up, and you're not going to have Blake on set ruining the vibes or trying to overshadow Chad Michael Murray. Like, we hired you for a part. You're the girlfriend from the small town. Just say your lines.
No, she's the big city girl that he ditched.
Let's get this story straight. She is not the hero. Yeah, so Blake, just say your lines. We have professionals here, Hallmark grips, who have been on 100 movies, all with the same formula. And yeah, so even Hallmark might have difficulty, and certainly she would no longer appear in your future scripts.
Absolutely not.